Welcome to a Parallel Project Training APM Project Fundamentals Qualification podcast based on the APM Body of Knowledge 7th edition. You should be using this in conjunction with our e-learning, podcasts and potentially a tutor-led course. For more information, please visit www.parallelprojecttraining.com.
Hello, my name is Paul Neighbour. We're with Jan Underdown. Hello, Jan.
Hi, Paul. How are you doing?
Very good. And we're doing APM PFQ podcast based on the 7th edition of the Body of Knowledge. And we're up to project environment.
Yeah, it's
and
a funny
PESTLE.
word, that, isn't it? Project environment.
It's also called context.
Okay.
Project environment or context.
Because I often think about environment as being, well, we're looking out the window right now with green fields and trees and a lake and that. But it's not, is it?
Yeah. It's probably, if we wrote it today, we'd use a different word, wouldn't they?
We would.
Because environment has become a thing in itself.
It's green stuff, yes.
By this, we mean the difference between delivering a project in a bank,
yes,
we just said,
yes.
or example, and delivering a project in the North Sea.
Yes,
and how those two, the
or
environment.
even a charity. You've just been overseas, haven't you?
Yeah,
in a charity. Yeah, it's completely different.
So, and what's different, the legislation will be different, the politics will be different, the
yes.
rules and regulations you have to follow, the funding will be different.
Even societies, it's quite interesting. We've been working with some local authorities recently,
yes.
and there's one, we've been working in the Midlands, and society, they actually have 42 different languages.
Wow.
And I went, wow. And you talk about stakeholder engagement, and also how those communities enact. They have
yes.
very different cultures, traditions, styles of society.
Yes. Yeah, I've just been doing some project kick-offs in the Eastern Europe.
Yes.
And that's different again.
Completely different again.
So that's what we mean by environment.
Yes.
So why do we need to worry about it as a project manager?
It's going to set, it could be the drivers of why the project's kind of kicking off in the first place. It could actually be a lot of constraints around our projects, identifying what we have to work within. So like legal constraints, a lot of health and safety, environmental things has become, this is when we do mean green stuff now, where, through life, recyclability, impact analysis, sustainability, to the plastic issue, all of that has actually come in. So
that's a very good point,
risks.
actually, because the context changes.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
So if you went back 10 years, no one cared about plastic. Is that strong? But it wasn't on the profile that it is today.
No, it is now. It's big
nowadays,
thing, yes.
And I did read somewhere that people are even beginning to take investment decisions. Should they buy shares in organisations depending on their sustainable policy?
Absolutely. And also the carbon footprint. People are much more moving locally
that's right.
to buy produce and stuff like that.
So the context shifts. That's the point. It's not a fixed thing. It moves with time.
Well, we were talking about the current podcast just now. We're talking at the moment in January 2020. And even the change of government could actually had a huge impact on the way the UK would have operated.
Yeah, that's right. So why there's a way of understanding that context environment.
Yes.
There's one of them is PESTLE, SWOT is another one.
That's right.
There are other contextual analysis tools, but PESTLE is probably the most commonly used.
It is. It's very useful, especially people on the podcast who may be working on a completely new project or moving into a different organisation, to understand. Because it can be different between if you're UK-based, European-based, or worldwide-based.
Yeah. So PESTLE stands for political, economic, sociological, technical, legal. And basically what you do is use it like a prompt list, really. To understand what are the key drivers in that area.
Could be key risks as well coming up.
Yeah. So you would use this to understand what are those political issues, what are the economic issues.
Right. And economic issues can be things like funding arrangements, recession, business cycles.
Yeah.
It can be exchange rates. A lot of organisations will be trading not in pounds, but also how that fluctuates. In terms of the kind of currency and lending rates and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sociological is the one that people find most confusing, but I think that is more social trends that you see.
It is. Society changes.
So if you look at how your parents lived,
Yes.
Compared to how we live and how your children live.
Well, I've only got to go back into my childhood, and it's, and wow.
The world, people live longer, people commute more to work.
They do.
You don't get
society attitudes have changed.
You don't get final salary pension schemes.
No.
People don't stay in jobs. My dad stayed in his same job for 40 years.
Well, that's frowned upon now. That's absolutely frowned upon. 2 years max.
If 2 years max in a job and that's it, I'm off.
Yes.
So that's changed. Technology.
Oh, gosh.
I actually don't know.
Start there,
I think technology changes are slowing down. That's controversial.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, when you think about
You've
it,
got the post-war era, the transistor
yes.
and the integrated circuit and the invention of the computer was transformational. The motorway.
Oh, no, that's actually starting to change.
Passenger air international travel. There were huge changes post-war. Now, I'm not too sure.
Yes.
The first iPhone came out over 10 years ago.
Yes, well, actually, the first computer spoke to each other 50 years ago. They celebrated it in 2019.
Yeah. Legal and legislation changes all the time.
All the time. You've got to really keep on top of that. And, of course, if you've got anything like that, then get your experts on board.
And the last one's environmental issues, which we've probably touched on already.
Yes, the green impact.
Sustainable projects. So we need to understand this.
Okay. But it's a very useful tool to actually end this podcast. It's a very, very useful tool when you're starting on projects to kick off. Yeah.
So describe why PESTLE analysis might be useful to a project manager.
Identify risks, impacts, constraints.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Jan.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
Cheer.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast and found it informative. To find out about our training courses, e-learning or tutor-led course, please go to www.parallelprojecttraining.com.